Hello, welcome to this video explaining how to create, edit, and grade SPTs with the new website. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're logged in. Once you're logged in as a certified teacher, you'll see the tests menu. Clicking on the tests menu brings you to a list of all of your tests, and to create if you have tests already there, you can edit those tests or go to grade those tests right from this list. But to create a new one, we start with this link right here, Create Test. The first thing you're going to need to do once you get to that page is pick a name, and this is the name of the event. So for example, this could be the Mace Single Sword Renewal or something like that. It could be the A-Town Throwdown, anything like that. We're going to call this Zev's Test. The sponsoring organization, we'll pick the Zev Steinberg Institute of Awesome, and we pick a test day. I'm going to say it's on the 27th. And Chicago, Illinois. Then you choose which weapons are being offered on that test. You'll notice there are 9 listed here because the last one is firearms. There'll be a separate video on how to do specifically a firearms test. But on this test, we're going to say that there is R&D, unarmed, broadsword, sword and shield, and R&D. Yeah, good. A whole bunch, doesn't really matter. Once you save that, the next thing you're going to want to do is add the certified teachers and the adjudicators. Now, what's important here, and it's explained if you hover over the question mark, it explains exactly how to do this. The first thing you need to do is search for the person. Let's say it's David Starrett. And for these search bars, it actually works better if you don't use spaces. So type either their first name or their last name. So if I wanted to search for David Starrett again, I could do it like that. You pick the person, click on them, then once their name shows up, then you must click Add. Once you see their name populated down here, that's how you know. In fact, I could have multiple teachers. So let's also add H. Russ Brown. 2 teachers. Same thing with the adjudicators, also explained if you hover over this right here. So for the adjudicators, I'm going to add myself just so that I can grade the test. So if I just search the beginning, IT admin, and then I must click Add. We can also add another adjudicator, Alan Sudduth. Add. The process for adding participants is what's next, and this is a very similar process. It's once again explained with this button right here. So first, we'll pick students that are in the system already. So once again, typing just a name is the fastest way to go. Now you'll notice we have all of these checkboxes here. This is how we decide which test she's doing. So if Amy is now going to be participating in this event, let's say she is doing sword and shield and broadsword and unarmed, but she's not doing R&D, and she's going to do knife. But you'll also notice next to each of these it says SPT, SPT, SPT. One click is an SPT. Let's say her unarmed is actually a renewal. So as I click that, you'll notice it changes to SPR. Her broadsword is also a renewal, sword and shield is a test, and knife is a renewal. Once I've got all of that sorted out, I can click Add. It then adds her to the test. You'll see it's Amy Rood. Rapier and Dagger is a big red plus because she's not testing in that one. And then you'll notice that currently, because we haven't done the test yet, everything is an NP, which stands for not pass. You'll see these little circles here. These represent the fact that it is a renewal. So she has a renewal in unarmed and broadsword, a test in sword and shield, and a renewal in knife. Now let's say I wanted to add another student. Let's add Colin Bressie right there. And he is testing in R&D, and maybe he's not testing in unarmed. You'll notice it's one click. By default, it's a test. The second click is a renewal. The third click removes you from the test. And let's say that's a renewal and that's a test. Add. And there's his settings. Now let's say you have a student who's not already in the system. So I'm going to search for, I don't know, Steve Henson. This is a totally fake name. Or better, John Doe. We have no John Doe in our system. So when you find that, you'd also try searching for just John. You could also try searching for just Doe, and you discover the person is not in the system. So here's what you do next, and it is explained once again inside this question mark. If you don't have the students already in the system, then what you need to collect from them is a first name, last name, and email address. To create a new student, type in the email address. So let's say that the email address is john@doe.com. Now you'll notice because I just wrote an email address, the next option here is register new member, john@doe.com. I click on that, and I now get the quick register. It put the email in for me, and I create the student. The reason we do it this way is because now, once we add this student, we'll say he's testing and everything. As soon as I've clicked that add button, this student has now been added to our website, and an email just went to them welcoming them to our website and asking them to create a profile. This is not the same as joining the SAFD. They still need to pay their dues in order to do that, but now they have a profile. They'll get an email with a temporary password, and they can create their profile on the website. So now we're going to skip ahead to say I've added a ton more students. Okay, so I've added a whole bunch of people to this test, and I wanted to mention one more thing about searching. So let's say I'm searching for a friend of mine here, and there's just so many different Danielles, it would be easier for me to just type her full name. That's one way to do it, to get into the full name. Once again, sometimes it is actually easier just to search with last name first. As soon as you enter the space bar, it slows the system down a bit, so letting it search without the space is faster. So let's say Danielle is doing some renewals and testing a knife. Okay, so I've added all my students, and now it's test day. You might be very tempted to hit this save button. By all means, you can click the save button. What the save button truly saves is all this information up here. Every time you add a student to the test or click any one of these buttons or things like that, the page auto-saves. So all of these students that we just added will be saved. Okay, so now the test day has come, and it's time to grade the tests. So either the certified teacher or the fight master can now go to this next page, the grade page. And to grade the students, you pick the weapon, and you'll get the list of every student testing in that weapon. And you can give them a basic pass, a recommended pass, or leave them as not passed. So Kim got a wreck, Sarah got a wreck, poor Colin had a bad day, but he passed. Jake Wynn also had a bad day, but he passed. Gabe Howard, recommend. Bree Bass, recommend, etc. And so you would go and do this for all the students for one weapon. You would then proceed to go on to the next weapon and grade all of them that way. The alternative is you could also look at all of the students based on their pairing. So let's say Kim partnered with Sarah for the whole day. Now I can see all of their tests specifically. They wrecked their rapier dagger, they both wrecked their unarmed, they got basic on the broadsword, she wrecked the broadsword, she basicked, etc. You'll notice that these are large buttons. The reason for that is that this has been optimized to do all of this on the test day sitting with a tablet or a cell phone. So now that all of that has been entered, we can go back here. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward now to say I've finished entering all of the records. I did want to mention something else that you can do. This feature might change as we further develop the site, but to help on these longer lists while you're grading at a computer, one thing you can do is you can zoom out in your browser. A lot of browsers have the functionality of zooming out, and then you'll be able to click everything much faster because you can see all of it. So as I'm finishing this up, these are the final grades. Everybody did real great. It's a good day, lots of wrecks. Everybody wrecks. So now that we've finished entering the grades, we can go back to edit, and you see all the grades have been entered. Go back to full screen. So Kim got her Rex here, a basic here, and her Rex, etc. The big pluses simply mean that they didn't test in that weapon, and Rex all around for the day. So now the event has been graded. If this was the certified teacher doing it, once again, every time you push the buttons, then it is saved. let's say it's now the fight master. If you are the adjudicator of record, this certify link shows up. The adjudicator can sign in and click certify. Once the event has been clicked as certified, the editing disappears. But you're still left with the finances page. This is the final step of the test. You can do this before or after it is certified. In fact, you could do this whole finances thing before it's even graded. As soon as you enter all the students, you start to get all of these calculations here. The total fees calculated is based off of the students, and it automatically calculates based on how many students, how many weapons, whether they are tests or renewals, and it will automatically do the math for you. You then simply need to add the other expenses. So the airfare was $700. The housing was $234. They didn't drive, so there's no miles. The per diem number of days, there were 2 days of per diem. And finally, there is a miscellaneous expense of $3 for a Coke. Unfortunately, we didn't take in enough money to cover all the expenses. Let's say it was a cheaper flight. Why not? Let's say it was a $200 flight. And the housing was $25. Much cheaper test. Okay, now we're no longer in the red. As you can see, it calculates everything for you. And these last two lines are what's important. You have the total due to the adjudicator, $624, and the total due to the SAFD. With this total that is due to the SAFD, there is a new feature that will be developed very, very soon that will allow you to pay this by check, or you click on PayPal. That feature will be right down here if you need to pay by check. You can either click that checkbox to pay by check, or you can click on the PayPal link to pay by PayPal. Once that payment has been received, the Business Operations Manager will click this checkbox right here, and the test is done. So now if we go back to our list of tests, we can see the Zev's test by H.S. Brown and David Sterrett. With these adjudicators, the event has been certified already, and as soon as that payment button is checked, these little $signs will mark that the test has been paid in full. Thank you very much. Happy testing.